If we can move through the check-in and the update sections quickly, then we'll have more time for the discussions at the end. And I do have some questions for the agenda itself because it looks really long and some things seem longer than it might need and others seem way shorter than they should be. So we'll talk about that. But why don't we do a quick check-in and go around in Zoom order. So start with Joey, do a check-in. How are you doing?
Good. Good. Let's see, last week I attended some town halls and popped into a couple of after town halls, and I popped into Nadia's, and it was quite comforting, informative, and calm. And then I made the mistake of popping out of that into one named Circle, and it was like I was like a cat on a hot tin roof after that. It was like hopping all over the place. The activity there was crazy. So Stefan and myself were probably the only two people that were looking at their situation without a lot of emotions and tied in, but there'll be a lot of discussion about that later. I also met with my mentors, Felix and the other mentor, can't remember his name right now. But anyway, we went over the priority list again, and Stefan also included some comments. So I have, hopefully we can bring that to a point of where we can have something to move forward with instead of looking back. And also I was able to work with Rhys as well as with Mercy. They both made recommendations for the Africa Town Hall sub-circle. And thank you, Rhys. I'd selected, I believe her name is pronounced Nibia Sultan. Is that correct, Mercy?
Yeah, Nibia.
Okay, so I selected this person because they had already run, I guess, against Mercy in the last.
Just to interrupt, this is just for a quick check-in to check.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
And then you'll have your section to update.
I'm good. We can move on.
Thanks. We'll go to Nadia and then Mercy.
Good. I'm excited to be here with everyone. I think just so much has happened over the past couple of weeks. It feels like there's going to be a very grounding and consolidating kind of a session. So I'm looking forward to that. And lots of good things happen. Lots of things to discuss have happened, and lots of complicated things have happened. So I'm feeling very hopeful that we're going to do something very productive in this gathering here.
All right. Thank you, Mercy, and then Dimitri.
Same here. In terms of all the, the turmoil that was going on, sort of surrounding the circle, I was quite discouraged as of Monday. But yesterday, I think we had a great sort of realignment. The town hall went fantastic, and I think that there's some kind of a calming down. And today, I'm feeling very optimistic for the future of the circle.
Nice. Thanks. And then Dimitri, and then Harris.
Looking forward to a productive meeting.
Harris, and then Rhys.
Yeah, no, I definitely have, took a break, my first break since I've been at IO. Took a few days off and came back, and it was refreshed, which is great. So feeling good. Definitely a lot of activity happening in the space, and I'm very hopeful that today we can make some progress and actually try to work some things out and make sure that we set the stage for future direction, and we can come together. So I'm really optimistic and hopeful that we can make that happen. So glad to be here with all of you and look forward to this discussion today.
Rhys, and then we'll check in with JP. JP, how are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm okay. Much like everybody else, a lot to follow and track this week. Trying to keep a level head. You know, I'm a huge fan, as I say all the time, of Cardano. I rep it every single time. I think Catalyst is just such an amazing group, and this circle from first version till now is learning and growing and getting these down. So, you know, like I say in policy, it's a bit like fixing the car while you're driving it down the highway. And we're kind of doing that right now with a lot of these processes. So if anything, I think this week showed us there are some really foundational process items that are really pivotal that need to be grounded. And so I'm excited to see how this group starts working towards those and how we can support. So thanks.
Thank you. And for myself, this week has been really busy, tiring. There's been a lot of questions and activity and drama. So I'm really thankful for all the calm, thoughtful voices that arose out of that din and kind of steering us towards some productive conversations rather than letting things slide off the wheels. And I'm really hopeful for how things are going because things seem to be shaping up really positively. So I'm also in a good space today and feeling hopeful for the conversations moving forward. Okay, so let's jump into the agenda. So today we have, let's just quickly run through it. And then just for the record, Bullish Dumpling sends her regrets. She has a video that she has placed for her update. We'll do that during the update section. And everyone else is in attendance. So I just want to do a quick check if there are any announcements that people have. And this is a 2-minute section intended just to notify people of anything that's coming up or something to be aware of. And you have an opportunity now. All right.
Just for me on the agenda there, all that stuff, I have no idea how it got there. I was updating the priority board and somehow this came here. I'm just going to go through my priority stuff. It should take about 15 minutes.
Okay. All right. If there are no announcements, let's do the revising of the agenda to make sure we're good. We have a first section with Harris, discussion on Circle establishing code of conduct. This one you put 10 minutes for, and I just put a comment that seems kind of short. Do we need more time for that? What's kind of people's feelings?
Yes.
How much time would we like?
So I do think that we need to get into the establishment of it. I don't know if we should do that in this as a working meeting. We can, but the intent was just to kind of cover off on it and possibly have another session which could be recorded where we have a working session and not take up the entire meeting today on this topic. That was my intent of only keeping it to 10, but I'm happy to extend it if you guys want to start actually drafting something specific. Any thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is that, you know, sometimes when it comes to the clarity of our role, I don't know if I have a complete clarity, but maybe I think there should be a discussion regarding, you know, not going to the deep details of the actual code of conduct, but you know, who is supposed to do that? You know, is it us as a sensor group, or, you know, I think I want a little bit of discussions around that. And for that reason, I think that a little extension of the time would be appropriate.
Okay. Is 20 minutes good? Or?
I agree. Maybe 20 or 15 at least.
Okay.
Okay. And with the desired outcome of this to have a plan for how to establish a code of conduct moving forward?
Yeah, to have sort of next steps.
Yeah, next steps. Okay. Why don't we start with 15? And then Joey said he only needs 15 for this. So this will happen at the top of the hour. Okay.
Yeah, all that other stuff can come out. It's not, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how
Anyone claim where that came from?
I thought I put it into priority update board, the new one. That's and I don't know. I have no idea. It's technology at its finest.
And that'll take us to 1:15. And then Mercy, you want 15 minutes for your section?
Yeah, about 15 minutes. I'm hoping that will be shorter, maybe 10, but yeah,
Okay.
let's allocate 15. I'll work with that.
Okay. And then I added some stuff just for admin stuff. So we have a new problem board, and I want to discuss some things around asynchronous work and how the circle can work and do work outside of meetings as well, and how that might look. Okay. Is everybody happy with the agenda as outlined? Yeah. Okay. So let's start. We have a new GitHub board today. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Stephen for putting that together. He's one of our GitHub masters, and he has figured out how to do the board in a way that makes it, I think, much more effective and clear and easier to speak to. The shift is for the go around. It's really for reporting. So which issues did you work on since the last meeting? Were any decisions made since the last meeting that should be reported? This last one was requested by Vanessa as QA DAO. There's a lot of things that we talk about, and then it's unclear for her as she's doing the transcription things, whether any decisions were actually made. So this is a place to call those out. The next section is enabling. Is anything blocking you? Do you need help from the group? And then the intention is which issues will you work on before the next meeting? And the reformulation of these questions and the GitHub board is really to help steer the circle to use the board to record everything you do and move them through as issues. That way the community is able to follow along with the tickets. They can read the comments, they can see the work being done, and it's just a lot more transparent. So any questions on that before we jump in? If not, then let's go to the new board. So this is what the new board looks like. Just to navigate the board a little bit, there's an overview tab at the top, and clicking that will bring up all the issues in this view. If you like the old view, way on the right hand side is something called Kanban view. If you click that, you'll see the board as it was that we've been using before. And now it's broken off, so it automatically filters by the different roles and seats. So we can actually click on, say, funded proposers, and then it'll bring all the tickets up on the board that have you tagged in that role for that ticket. So it's a quick way to sort through and talk to them. So let's start with funded proposers. You want to talk through each of these cards and talk about where they are, and if you're blocked on anything, and what your intent is moving forward for each one.
Just give me a minute. Let me shift this to a bigger screen so I can actually see.
Okay, would it help if I increase?
Yeah, that helps.
Is that helpful? Okay.
I will shift this to my second monitor. Give me a sec. Ooh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm holding everything up.
No worries.
It's hard to see it on that small screen.
And it would be useful at the end of the meeting when we have our feedback form just to comment on whether this seems more effective or not. We're doing some experiments on process, so that would be useful to hear how it goes.
Yeah. Okay, so very quickly, in terms of the issue number one, that is something, as we all know, is sort of a collective community thing. I know that Harris, from an IOG perspective, sort of doing a bit of background work on that. So hoping that he will give us an update later on. Yeah, so what I did with this was actually to reword it such that it's not something that it's sort of definitive, but we are all moving towards figuring out how to address sustainability for some of these key, important services that, it's not that easy to get it in itself to be self-sustaining right off the bat. So yeah, that's that with that. The second issue is on achieving clarification on exact timing in terms of release of funds each month to funded proposals. So this is also an issue that is ongoing. Myself and Harris are trying to, sort of, get a meeting together for us to figure out how, what the next steps are. The key issue with this is that in as much as it will be perfect to have an exact date and time, at this point in time, IOG does it as a really manual process. But I do believe that if we can get together, because I know that there actually has been some community members that have said that, they are willing to sort of chip in and figure out if they can write a script or something like that to make it easier. So yeah, we're just going to put a few minds to that and then figure out what the next steps are. So we will be reporting in the interim, whatever information we get, we will report on that. And if, so between now and the next meeting, if anything comes up, we'll definitely make that public. In terms of how to nurture a listening culture, that's a collective catalyst thing. And I think that we've had a lot of practice with that this week, and I'm hoping that we can talk a bit more about that. And then with the 5, that's something that sort of is a collective thing. So yeah, I think those are the key things in terms of the problem backlog that we need to talk about. The rest are sort of in the backlog. Is that right? Norris, so these are research and stuff that
yeah, the general flow is problem backlog captures all new incoming things, and as soon as you start to work on them, they move to either researching or they're well defined and ready to move into solution finding.
Right. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. In the sense that in actual fact, I didn't need to, we are all practicing with this new board, right? Yes. So I didn't need to actually talk about the 3 and 5 because that wasn't a funded proposal per se. So I was supposed to talk about the 1 and 2 and then the 9, is that right? And then the 12, is that right?
Yeah, although you are tagged or your role is tagged to some of these other tickets. So if that's not appropriate, you can remove them.
Sure.
And
okay,
it'll make it clear.
I just wanted to add, for the clarification on timing, does it make sense to move that into researching now? And it's, I don't know if you have to move the Kanban view to move it. Okay, there you go. You just change the status. Yeah, so ideally we're entering these things and then we're actually making specific progress, and that backs our progress to completion, and that way it shows that we're doing real work and making a difference.
Anything else from the backlog that should move into researching or beyond?
Mercy, do you want to move number 1 as well, or do you want to leave that?
I was thinking that might be appropriate to move that one as well, since that's a huge sort of collective community issue as well. Okay. Awesome. I think I am happy with that. So the final one, I think 12, is circle relationship with catalyst proposals. I am happy to have that discussion. I don't have any updates on that. I don't think that the SECA has taken any position yet on that. So yeah, happy to have that discussion.
Well, what is the next step for
that? So this was something that my predecessor had put in I think that there wasn't anything conclusive in Circle V2. Is that right, Nori?
Yeah, there had been work and conversations around it. And I think it's really the next steps would be for the circle to prioritize it and talk about what are the expectations for Catalyst Circle members and the proposals they submit into a fund while they're running. And how do you separate individual versus circle kind of blessed proposals, because there is a category of circle proposals. And I think the question was, where's that line and how do we draw that? And that needs to be decided at some point to just have transparency and clear. And that might be part of the code of conduct discussion.
That's right. That's right. That's what I thought. Yeah. So thanks. That's all from me.
Yeah, I do agree. I think they are linked and potentially could be a topic that we add to the code of conduct. Cool.
Okay. Thanks, Mercy. Next is community advisors and really looking at reporting and then enabling if you're blocked, and then intent on what's coming next.
Right. So I actually spent some time reviewing some of these with Kenrick. Some of these are long in existence, and many of these had their origins in Fund 7 and very happily can have been closed here in Fund 8 because we just came through a period where we implemented things that were here originally. So I closed a good number of these. Perhaps I did not do that correctly because they're still showing up, but I can talk through them a little bit. The only thing that I don't have really an update on is the method for selecting a Catalyst Technical Council. So that's something that will remain there and maybe needs additional focus here. The code of conduct is what we're going to talk about today, and I'm tagged in that one because of the role. Same thing with the nurturing the listening culture. So I'll come down to well-defined problems. I had added the VCA arbitration body for CA review, and we talked about that a bit in our previous session, where we were looking for some solutions to how to have a resolution process for any VCAs who were flagged as part of that process, as part of their involvement in the VCA process by the analysis tools as potentially just needing extra attention, and what could be done in those cases so that there was a little bit of an arbitration process. And this group suggested that we create a task force for that. I took that back to our group. We talked about it a good amount. We actually drafted, I linked everything in here so it can be easily seen. We drafted a potential solution that would create a task force, but then ultimately over the course of the town hall, we finally decided that it could be resolved just by having a resolution process in place by which someone could contest if they felt something needed additional review, and that felt a lot more accessible and implementable as a step up for this process. So that has been accomplished and is in the VCA guide, which was also drafted as a new resource for our group here in this fund. So all of that is linked in there and can be looked at. Also, the after town halls that we had are linked in there, the recordings of them. And so this is an issue that I think is closed for Fund 8, but of course, we'll see how it goes and then potentially think about it again for Fund 9. Challenge continuity, I added some links in there as well. So part of this was thinking about how challenges are maintained and how that affects the proposals from fund to fund. So we linked some of the updates to that in there. We closed that one as well because some responses have been made to it and are in the works, and then just will require time really to let them be processed. And then these last two, the reputation merit system and the CA rewarding system, both got attention as part of our collaborative community / IOG work to improve our process in Fund 8. And to prevent getting too much into that, those documents are linked in here as well. So that was addressed. There are new documents that make that clear. The guides were updated as well so that people could reference what they needed to find out. And, you know, well, that's in place for Fund 8 as well. So we'll review this afterwards and continue there, but both of those can be closed. And I think that one of my key goals over the next 2 weeks is going to be to take all of this sensed data and information that's we've earned from the past 2 weeks and to begin to repopulate the prioritized problems board. Hopefully not too many things, but certainly there are some things already that will need our attention. So I've not added anything to it other than being sort of as comprehensive as possible in closing existing ones, because we're really in a very time sensitive sensing place right now. So I anticipate that next time I will have more to report on new additions.
Okay. Thanks, Nadia. And I was just looking, I was trying to close the ones you wanted closed, and I'm looking at the different categories here, and there are so many. I'm going to add that to the end when we talk about the admin section. And do we need so many columns? Can we just have backlog, in progress, done, and simplify it? And I'd like to get your thoughts on that so that we know where to kind of move things to next. Okay, thank you. I guess next is Dimitri and the general voters.
Yeah, I had found a couple of old ones that I brought up for consideration. So one was the trust and merit systems, and I had put it in they are saying, let's discuss it today. No systems to track trust and participation, and a perspective from the tool makers and community advisors. And the question that I had asked was, can trust be tracked, and should it be tracked in the first place, and who decides what is trustworthy and not trustworthy? Because what is trustworthy to one person may be too much or not enough to another person. So who decides? And in a decentralized situation, do we even have the right to decide? Is it a majority, in which case it's not decentralized, it's coming back to centralized? And if everyone can decide for themselves, then is there any particular consensus that ever can be arrived in a decentralized situation? So that some of these questions are foundational to first figure out before knowing whether systems should then can and should be put in place. So that was one thing that I was thinking about, because this has been on the board for a long time. So I thought maybe we can have a discussion about that. And also, if we look in the real world framework and compare it with, because the real world has had systems like this for a long time, we can look at different systems that this is done and see whether any of them are suitable for a decentralized kind of an autonomous, where people are all over the world in different time zones, different regions, different cultures, and whether anything can be put as common for that at all. And if not, what are we going to do? That would be the question over there.
So are you going to pick this up, Dimitri, and take it on as something you want to work on?
No, I can't do it, because in the sense of I have no idea. These are fundamental questions that we need to discuss, or at a deeper level, the community needs to discuss. It's not something that even I can decide or anyone here can decide, because the 5 of us or the 7 of us can't really come to a conclusion and say this is what it is. We need to figure out a way to understand it from the larger perspective, is what I think. But we can discuss about whether that's a valid point or not.
It's in the researching phase. The assignee is just who wants to drive it. You don't have to make decisions or anything, but somebody has to convene the meetings or lead the discussion. And that's what if nobody steps up to do that, it's going to sit here forever. So that was my question. You're bringing it up, so I'm wondering if you're wanting to own it to drive it forward, just to have the conversation.
I think that before I could make such a decision, because I would like to have these fundamental questions at least clear in my own mind, because only then can I know whether I'm competent to drive such a thing, because it's a very deep issue. Trust is a very deep issue. It's a very non-tangible thing. It's perhaps the most non-tangible of all emotions, I would say, because it's not something that's easily, like, it's not like anger or happiness or joy or something which is easily visible. It's something far more inside. So how do we define that is what I think. So
yeah,
I can't.
I'm just questioning because right now we're going through the board and moving cards and talking about the stuff you're actually working on. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering what to do. Do I put your name on it? Do I move it into, is it need to go back in the backlog?
Can I just ask a quick question? Which one are we talking about? The trust and participation?
Yeah, number 9.
Yeah, I think what's happened here is many of these are on my list from the old board. If you go to the old board, like how to nurture a listening culture, how to nurture the listening culture in Catalyst, those things are all on my list as being T&M roles to do something with, and I'll go through those when I get there. So
okay. Oops. This particular one is on everyone's list. Everyone's been tagged, it seems to be.
Yeah, I think
might not be the most efficient way if
I think that's what's happened. It took from the other list, it looked like the T&M was primary, but there were other people on it as well. That's maybe secondary. I don't know, but I think that's what's happened with this board here.
Yeah, I know Tevo was driving this, I think, and there was some progress that was made, and it might be best to be in the TNM. And I think ultimately what we want to get down to is understanding, as you said, Nori, who's driving it, right? And it's as we go around the room while we have our these titles or whatever, it comes down to what are we working on, what are we driving individually. So I don't. There may need to be a filter of prioritized problems where we're focused on individuals in these roles. Because there's a sense that something is common and there's multiple categories that they fit into, and that I think is causing some of this confusion now, for sure. But we want to have drivers, and ideally, Stefan specifically, like he shouldn't necessarily be driving it because he's not in the circle. So we need an owner, and so we have some orphans that we need to either kill or take ownership and drive.
Right. So Joey, you mentioned, are you going to be taking this on, or should I move it back to the backlog? Well, it says it's in progress.
If we want to just skip over to me, let me go through the ones that I have, because there's most of them I think are listed here. And as far as what Tiva, but whatever.
Before we do that, Dimitri, are there new items that you've added? And do you want to talk about that? Dimitri?
Yeah. So what I had added was another thing that was on my list, which was the anti-scammers initiative on social media platforms. So since it's been on that list for some time, I wanted to know what exactly that was, whether it's still a big problem, whether there had been any progress on that, because it's been there from before I came and we haven't picked it up at any point. So I just wanted to find out from the and I think it's on most of our, most of us are tagged on that. So what exactly is the status of that, and what was done previously? If we have any idea, maybe we can then figure out how to take it forward. That would be on that. The other thing was
the next against that one. Should we put your name on that one, or is this showing up in this list for you?
We can, but I just want to again get some clarity as to where we stand at the moment. We can put my name on it. I can do some research and talk to the general community and see whether there is a problem, whether they face problems. What do they feel about it? I can do some research in that way with the general ADA holder community. But if there is any more specific, because we are, other than me, everyone here has a specific group. So if there is some more specific insights that you all can give, it will be helpful. Because the general ADA community does not respond necessarily that quickly on the larger sense. So if there is more specific insights, that will be great.
And just to be clear, having your name as the assignee doesn't mean that you're working on it to solve it. It means that you're driving it forward and facilitating action happening. And it could be somebody else that actually does the work. It's just somebody needs to be responsible for asking the question and raising the topics in chat and things like that.
Yeah, I know there were proposals. There were proposals on this. I don't know if they were funded or not, but I do know there were proposals.
Okay, so maybe we need to move this back to researching since we seem to have lost some context around it.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a case of putting my name and kind of pushing things along, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I can do it in the context of my ADA holding community, but also to get some more specific insights from the specialist groups represented here.
Great. And do you want to speak to number 12?
I'm not seeing the numbering, but I'm assuming it is the how to resolve inequities in the catalyst process. Is that the one?
It's the professional
As
consideration
faced
of
by proposals
CCV3
who think
roles.
in foreign languages.
No, it's the professional consideration of CCV3 roles and time spent on work.
Oh, okay. So, okay, that's not on my list, but
it is showing on your
yeah.
list.
So I was under the impression that we could close these tickets. Yeah, I'm looking at that other document, the CCV3 agenda. Sorry. Yeah. So what I thought was, but then Stephen corrected me and said we can't close these tickets. So I had closed the ticket because I felt that the issue had been resolved. I had got feedback. I had acted on that feedback, and now it's back to the voters in their context of making a final decision regarding that. So on that standpoint, I had done what I had set out to do. So therefore, I closed the ticket. But after that, Stephen said we can't close the tickets in between meetings. We need to close it at the meeting. So I guess it's still open, but it can be closed right now because I've got. I mean, I've completed that path of research and execution.
Okay. I'm not actually sure what a closed state is. There's so many. I'm going to put it in integrated accepted now, and then we can have a conversation later whether we actually have a very clear closed done status.
I do think that often the outcome of our work is a proposal potentially, and I don't know if there's a way to indicate, proposal has been launched and we're waiting for votes, and then proposal has been voted in or not voted in, right? That might be another state that we establish. But anyway,
yeah, let's talk about that later in the meeting when we get to the admin section.
Great.
Okay. Thanks, Dimitri. Any other things you want to talk to on the board?
Yeah, I had just mentioned a couple of things which I came across, which were how during this last phase of community advisors assessments, where one person in particular we spent a lot of time doing because they were thinking in Spanish and trying to, they hadn't got, by Thursday, they hadn't got more than 3 or 4 assessments, they told me. So we sat for about 2 hours and we went through a very complicated process of translating, understanding, retranslating. I mean, Google Translate was what was being used because he could not communicate well in English and I do not know Spanish. But we were trying to understand what he was trying to say and rewrite in English and then put it back into Spanish and ask him whether it works. And if he was happy with it, then I would give him the English version and he was going to put it into his proposal. But then after about 1.5 hours of that, we figured that it's no point doing it now because he could only put it as a comment. But anyway, he was quite happy to do it like that, and he had put it as a comment. And I think by Friday, when the thing closed, he told me that he had got about 16 assessments. So from 4 on Thursday, that simple task of, I mean, not simple, but that long task of doing that rewriting in English, which the community advisors could understand, helped him to go from 4 to 16. But of course, that's not the ideal situation. So perhaps we need to figure out how to enable non-English, people not English speaking, but people who are not fluent in English, without them having to use Google Translate, how they can make sure that community advisors have what it takes in order to do the assessments, a number of assessments, because they also look for a number of assessments. But I can't blame the community advisors because I couldn't understand what he was saying in the first place in English.
Okay. Is there a card on the backlog or somewhere on the board that you're talking to right now?
No, this is a new issue. That's why I brought it up. I mean, I just came across it on Friday, Thursday.
Okay. Yeah.
If
So
if I can comment on that quickly, that is the language within the whole process. Different languages is something that really came up and was like a very thoughtful consideration by a lot of the CAs and BCAs in this process. So I can really imagine that that is going to end up on the board, although it's not there yet. So it will be a really, I think, positive thing for us to consider that broadly as far as the proposal and assessment process and beyond, how we can have it be, without creating a situation where that creates too much complexity, that we could certainly start to think more broadly about how we involve language as a major consideration of that process. So I'll just put that there, and then maybe we can come to it as something that's being sensed and is put up and thought about over the coming weeks.
that sounds good. Thanks, Nadia. Harris.
Yeah, I was just going to echo that same concept. Like if you notice there's a problem, let's get it on the board. We can track it and we can find resolution to it. Yeah, language, as a global platform, we do need to find some accommodation for multiple languages. Ideally, that's in the community, run by the community for the communities as it happens, and we need to kind of figure that out. But let's add it to the board and then prioritize it.
So Nadia or Dimitri, are one of you two going to add it to the board?
I'll add it. We can certainly jointly work on it. But I think there's so many things that have come up, and I haven't really categorized them yet. So they need to be categorized. And then I think that will serve not having, an enormous list of things, but rather things that relate to each other. So I will take that as the adding to the board as my role here. And then we can think about who's going to drive that.
Okay. Thank you. Is that anything else, Dimitri, that you want to bring up and talk to on the board?
No, nothing at the moment.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the IOG tickets.
Great. So there's a number of items here that, again, are in multiple categories. How to nurture a listening culture and catalyst is sort of a big one. And ideally, we try to establish a sense of what do we see as the end state for this. There's definitely links and research and all that's great. But we want to have actionable things we can actually move and influence. So I think we need to, for these things, otherwise they're just going to sit here and do nothing. Establish owners for that, and maybe it's training, maybe it's additional sessions where we're having space to listen to what's happening in the community. These kinds of things, I think we need to sort of take action and ownership. I know Stephen was driving this. It's certainly important that we develop this culture, and it should start with us. And I think our circle here has already had some wonderful examples. Definitely Nadia's been exemplary in terms of listening and making sure that we're following this guideline, and we should be examples of that as much as possible. But we if we don't have definition of done, or what is the goals that we want to have on the outset, that should be clearly defined in these, and we should have ownership of that and drive it. So is anyone in particular wanting to own this particular item?
So what I want to suggest is that we have a really great platform when it comes to the Wednesday Catalyst Town Hall. And, we do this sort of joint presentation that Nori mostly leads very well. And then, of course, it breaks into the various reps. So I'm wondering if this, and it sounds like it's a huge issue for the circle. And sometimes just maybe even just putting it out there week after week that, we are, because basically we are a listening group in a sense. And then we try to figure out how to sort of push issues forward. So maybe in that section whereby, sort of the joint circle section, maybe that's where this could potentially be. So in terms of leadership, I know that we want one person to lead, but I am wondering if this could be joint, in the sense that it's circle admin leading it, and then just letting everybody know that, you know what, this is something that the circle is trying to work on week after week, because then it sensitizes the community as well in terms of the importance of listening. That's my thinking. I don't know if that's a good way to go.
That's also on my list.
Wonderful. Okay.
Do you want to drive it, Joey? I think for the update section, we shouldn't be trying to problem solve, because this is supposed to be fairly quick, and we should take it into an agenda item if we want to talk about the situation. But really, this is just for updates, what's next, and if you're blocked, and also if there's something that doesn't have an assignee, as Harris keeps reminding us, we should definitely assign people to these to drive it. It's not to own it and to find the solutions, but someone needs to actually follow up and poke people and prompt conversation and make sure it's getting done.
Well,
So-
it's on my list for now, but I'm not so sure it should be on it, but whatever.
But also, if nobody wants to pick it up, then it's fine to sit in the backlog till it becomes the next priority, and then we can put someone's name on it. So as long as it's in the backlog with nobody's name, I think that's okay. It just means that there are more pressing things that everyone else is working on, and we've prioritized.
I mean, I do have a statement with it, but when we get to my stuff, I'll go through it all.
Okay, Rhys, do you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm happy for you to put my name on it if you want, because I completely agree with where Mercy's coming from about the catalyst. Like, after town hall's a perfect time to actually have these open discussions with the community, and I'm planning on participating a lot more in there now that I have that time free. I know Nadia and Mercy are already, but you're more than happy to put my name on it, and for me to kind of help facilitate that. And I think that the after town hall is a perfect opportunity to have that in place as well.
Okay. What is your GitHub handle? I'm not actually finding you.
It's Rhys T. Morgan. RHYS T. Morgan.
Yeah. Do you actually have a connected GitHub account to this board?
I don't think I have any to this new board, no. I mean,
Okay,
I'm on it now on my GitHub, like through my GitHub. So, like, but it doesn't
Okay,
look like
are you-
I can actually do anything to it.
You can't do anything. Okay, so I'll work with. I'll let Stephen know. We need to get you invited and added to the board so you can actually add cards and be assigned.
Perfect, thank you.
But yeah, we'll add you to that. Thanks for volunteering.
Yeah, so I'll continue briefly and kind of get through this. So the method for selecting Catalyst Technical Counsel, I think should stay in the backlog for now, and we should decide on an owner in the future. Initiating the code of conduct for Catalyst Circle members, I think it's definitely a group initiative. Should be driven by the circle and the community. I'm certainly happy to have my name attached to it for now, but definitely we'll be driving forward to establish that, and we can definitely provide some insight and leadership on that. With regards to some of the other issues, I'll be supporting Mercy on those, and trust and participation. I don't know if that we still don't have an owner. I guess we'll figure that out. We'll get to that with Joey. So there are some big things that are happening internally within IOG, and we've got some really good discussion, and there'll be a lot more that I'll be able to share soon. But for now, how do we remove IOHK for every decision? That's definitely something I think I can own and push forward. And building partnerships, that last one also is something that you can attach my name to, and we can continue to make progress on that. And again, there's some high level discussions going on right now, and again, there'll be more that I'll share soon.
And on the Catalyst Circle code of conducts, I just want to make sure we include the sub-circle folks in that as well, so that I want them to be able to read and reflect on a code of conducts.
Great. Yeah, I think we should include that. as the definition of what those subcircles are and their roles and their conduct. I think that would apply for sure.
Mercy, you have your hand up. And you're muted, by the way.
Muted. So this is actually something that was brought to my attention for me to raise, in the sense that the work that is going on in IOG and what Harris is bringing up, and a lot of these things. Definitely, there's that understanding that it's confidential, and then it will come up at some point. What this person was wanting is there some kind of, especially when it comes to, I believe that issue on my board, the sustainability for governance and other community groups. Is there can we say maybe 2 weeks or maybe in a month, or do we have sort of some kind of a time frame at all?
Yeah, I do think that there'll be some clarity in the next month or two related to that, the bigger picture, and that will bring a lot of clarity and transparency. So we definitely hear and understand that we need to be more transparent, and I'm certainly pushing that agenda kind of from my side into IOHK, IOG, and I do want to ensure that happens. And so I'll, as a circle member, I hear it, I understand we need to do it, and is something that I can own and bring forward.
So move this from Mercy to Harris.
Well, that's a treasury item, that one specifically.
I think that's what she was referring to, was this specific card about.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah, you can assign that to me.
Okay.
Oh, we can actually do multiple assigns.
Yeah.
That's good.
So do you want to stay on this card, Mercy?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to keep coming back to Harris.
Great. And that there is follow up to the community letter that was provided that is also going to be coming soon.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not going away, Harris.
What's that?
She's not going away, Harris.
I love it. Yeah. No, please.
She's gonna be back. So
we'll keep each other accountable. For sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. Anything else, Harris, to update on?
Oh, no.
Okay. Awesome. All right. You're up, Joey, tool makers and maintainers.
Okay, finally, me. So I like this because you're using the driving narrative, looking in the rearview mirror, trying to figure out what happened in the past is extremely difficult. So I hope we could just draw a line in the sand and just move forward at this point. So I spent some time collaborating with Felix, Tivo, and Stefan on the items that was in the previous board. I'm assuming they moved over here.
Yes. They should all be here. This is just a view on the board. They're both the same data.
Okay. So I'm just going to, let me see which one, how to nurture listing. Okay, so that's number one. So I'm just going to read off what I've written down to make this quick. The recommended status is this, that it's ongoing. It's an ongoing community effort, so it should be moved to community issues for ongoing monitoring. The mentors felt they'd made progress on this via establishing Discord channels, which provided a safe place for listening. Tivo said that stated there is an attempt to revitalize the execution of first ideated deliverables like forums and training sessions after the proposal submitting stage, and time will tell if the focus is shifted and the pursuit for this is not needed. So I believe Stefan recommended it was be moved to community issues because it's an ongoing thing. We just have to monitor it. And I don't know if there is a community issue thing here or not.
There isn't yet. Can we put it into prototyping in progress, and then we can maybe get a report or two?
So community issues is a whole separate board, I think, right? We have priority problems, right? So I don't know how you move off of this board into that other board, but
I don't know.
I'll look into that. But for now, can we put your name on this, Joey, just to track it and
just,
make sure it
just
gets
to
moved?
have something there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the other one is initiative conduct code of conduct for circle members. That one's not mine. I can go by the numbers that was on the other board. Circle relationship with catalyst proposals. There it is, your number 11. All right, so again, recommended status was this was ongoing, moved to community issues for ongoing monitoring. Stefan clarified this. He said it had to do specifically with Fund 7 proposals that the circle would support. And he provided a link to those, and I can put that into this later once I learn how to use it. So it's another one of those goes to community issues at this point, because I guess they listed certain proposals that the circle would support. I don't quite understand that, but whatever. That's where we're at.
Sounds like we're going to talk a little bit about that with the codes of conduct section as well. So,
Okay. So the next one was cohorts almost non-existent. Yeah, there it is, number 7. Okay, the recommended status was in progress. Stefan clarified the statement, said the scope of this issue relates to welcoming funded cohorts, not welcoming newcomers per se. Also stating there's still some work to be done in providing a collaborative layer for the funded cohorts, although progress has been made through the challenge team support. Mentors felt that in the beginning, see, there was some confusion, I think, even at that time. The mentors felt that in the beginning, this listening culture was almost non-existent, but now we have town halls after town halls, forums, catalyst schools, bridge builders, and the like. So I think even in the beginning, there was some confusion there. Stefan says this was really for funded cohorts, and it's still in progress. Some sort of collaborative layer for them.
all right, I moved it to in progress.
Okay. So the next one I have was T&M need for community reward systems. Okay, which is 13. Again, this is in progress. The mentors felt that Gimbal Labs is moving on a token incentive project. I don't know who to get in touch with Gimbal Labs to find out the status there, but I'll have to try to find out. They also said that PACE is moving on a community crediting and creating a community landing page. So that was the answer there. It's still in progress.
You would want to talk to James at Gimbal Labs about updates on that, probably.
I did want to add, so ideally, we are, we have understood the problem clearly and that we have it characterized well and is defined. Prototyping, in my view, is actually trying to execute something and actually pilot it. So I think we do need to clarify the definitions of each of these status items, because I do think there's some difference. So if we do simplify to just 3 things, it's in progress, but I think there can be steps along the way, and a lot of governance processes should actually have pilots to try it, should have places for community feedback, these kinds of things as well. So it's something I think we probably should create an actual item to track and define. And I don't know if the admin team can help us with that, or we have a separate breakout on that item.
And we'll definitely talk about next steps towards that and clarity at the admin part of this meeting agenda, because I would really like to get clarity, because this was set up initially by Governance Alive, and it's a little confusing to me. And I come from a very software development agile background, and this is way complicated for me. So I don't know how the average people who have never done Kanban boards before are able to navigate this space. So yeah, I want to have that conversation.
Let's define it together. That sounds good.
Yep, in progress is pretty broad. I agree. And the next one was T&M. There's
just a second. Dimitri has his hand up. Just want to make sure if he has a question on.
Yeah, just now since this thing came up, I just wanted to say it's probably related because we put a proposal in for this same kind of thing to incentivize people to get people on board to Catalyst. So we had conceptualized a system, and I was going to talk to James about it once the whole VCA work was over. Basically, where every time somebody introduces and brings prospects, they get incentivized, and when the prospect joins up and signs in, they get incentivized, and they'll have listed the first person as the referrer. So then, based on how much interaction the referrer has with the referee, there'll be incentivization for both sides. And basically, this whole process, this backend, both parties get incentivized for their participation and going up the ladder in terms of being involved in the ecosystem, participating in classes, putting proposals, becoming a CA, becoming a VCA, becoming a person who can bring in new people. So then the cycle starts again. So anyway, since we were talking about the reward system, I'm not sure whether that is the same thing, but we want to reward people for actively evangelizing on the Catalyst system. So not just telling people it's a good thing, go out and tell, but you get incentivized every time you do any little step that contributes to growth of the Catalyst system. Not just bringing new people, but everything that's involved there. So that discussion will happen with James once this VCA part is over.
Nice. It sounds like a good collaboration between Joey and Dimitri, working with James to talk about some of those mechanisms.
Okay. There's a lack of onboarding and introduction systems. Which number is that? That's number 16. Okay, there's a lack of onboarding and introduction systems structures for Project Catalyst. So the recommended status of there again was in progress. The mentors felt that AdaGov is working on a Catalyst ecosystem map or a mapping tool of some sort. Something about Fluid 7 Swarm Labs working on a media and marketing lab. Stefan recommended making the problem more specific and oriented toward a deliverable. So choose an onboarding or introduction system and support it as CCV3 through to its completion so it moves across the board. So I guess it's in progress. I'm not sure what ADA is doing or what the Fluid 7 is actually doing, but it goes back to what Harris was saying. This needs to be a little bit more defined.
Okay, I put your name on the ticket. Are you willing to drive that conversation forward to get more clarity on the end state of the ticket so that we know when it's done? Okay.
So the next one was the faster funding for Catalyst projects. Is that there? Yeah, number 19. So the mentors felt like that was successfully completed because they had put in the proposal to fund the Circle V3 with the $7,000 to use for special projects. So there's a proposal process that has been implemented. Obviously it has to be ongoing, but they felt like that would be a completed process.
So we can close it. I think it's also the rapid funding challenge setting and other mechanisms that were introduced by Circle V2.
So I don't know, did I miss some things?
There's name, that's most of them. You are attached to
just throw my name on everything.
Trust and participation in tracking and visualizing.
I'll dive right in. Okay. I think I'm done. Unless there's something else I need to. I'll have to run. If there's anything I missed, I'll have to go look at it.
Okay. So we have Cardano Foundation, and Bullish is not here today, but she is. Oh, Nadia, do you want to go before I do the dumpling update?
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to throw my hat in the ring to tag team the with Joey. If you want to get the name right, if you can go back to that, thank you. The onboarding and introduction systems. I'm seeing a lot of like people who are newer to the community really understand. I think we all come to Catalyst and we think, how do you get around here and what the heck and where do I find this? And there's I think a new especially having come out of the CA process, there's a new group of people who are looking at that and thinking about it role specifically. But I think it'd be really interesting to bring those people together and think about it like more in a system-wide perspective, especially when you're newer, because things become normalized to you, and that's sometimes good and that's sometimes challenging. So maybe it would be helpful to just be able to work to get those people together to have that conversation and to send them and across the board. So I will help with that if Joey will have me.
Super.
I'd like to add my hat in the ring as well. There's definitely a lot of thinking about this from the IOG perspective, and there's some new things that are going to be forthcoming. And so I definitely like to participate so we don't duplicate work.
Beautiful. All right.
Absolutely.
Now we go to Cardano Foundation, and let me make sure that I share screen with sound on.
Hello, Catalyst Circle reps and admin team. Hope you guys are doing well today. Sorry, I won't be able to make this meeting because by the time you're watching this video, I will be hosting a Twitter space with Frederick from Cardano Foundation. So I'm going to update you with this video. First of all, what issues did you work on during the last 2 weeks? So mainly I've been working on getting community feedback, gathering questions, and also with recent event about the potential removal of Dmitry. I've been collecting people's feedback and their sentiment on this issue. Been to many Twitter spaces where Dmitry was on and talking to people, hearing from them how they feel about this issue. I can already share here that many people are not happy. They are unhappy and concerned about how this is being handled. They feel like this is being handled behind closed doors and shots are being called among a very small group of people. They are asking for more transparency. Another thing I noticed is that it appears many people think circle reps like me and many of you are involved in deciding or trying to decide on the removal of Dmitry, which is not true. At least speaking for myself, I was not aware of that. I'm planning to have an open discussion in the community to discuss this issue and really to hear from community members how they think this should be handled. Of course, we don't necessarily do what people say, but I think it's important that people feel they are included in the process. Many people were asking if there were to be a public vote about Dmitry's removal or retention. I'm not sure if we should have one, but I think that's something we could really consider and have discussions on. Even as a circle rep, I was not aware of the situation until I saw that document about removing Dmitry. I personally did not like that. And I think it could be handled with a lot more transparency. For Voltaire, for decentralization, I think we do need to proceed with also caution and openness. What exactly is the format that I think we should use then in terms of communication? I'm not entirely sure, but I think the principle is very clear now. People don't like when things are being handled by a select group of people. I can suggest that we could either do a Twitter poll or just a Twitter thread asking people, hey, how would you like to join this discussion? Next thing, enabling, is there anything blocking me? Yes, so I have to be a little bit spicy here. And this is not a complaint or insult to the admin team. Absolutely love the support that I'm getting from you. But I am not super happy with GitHub. Maybe it's just me, but it gives me headache just thinking about if I have an issue or a card, I need to use GitHub and I don't know where to put it, how to put it in, and adding labels. It's really the technicality of it. I would really prefer if I don't spend any time with the technical things, just deep dive into the things I want to work on. And I also heard that we are having a new system or new procedure in terms of using GitHub. Maybe it would be really good if we could have a video demonstration, like a video tutorial that we can just watch. And when we all have some specific questions, then we can have a meeting together. So having a video tutorial, I think, could be really efficient use of your and our time. Intention, which issues will I be working on next? So next time you're going to hear from me, my update about what Frederick has said regarding the questions on what is Foundation's role, what are their potential plans. That's something that I'm going to give you some more clarity on. The other thing is, of course, the whole Dimitri removal retention situation. I'm hoping to have arranged some kind of open, transparent, respectful platform for people to come on for discussion, asking questions, not necessarily make a decision, but at least that people can talk there. That is something that I plan to work on in the next days, next few weeks. Before I leave, if you have some questions that you have for Frederick, I see that somebody has already put a question about what does the foundation do. Thanks for that question. But if you have more questions, you can just DM me on Slack and share with me. I will make sure to ask them during the space with him. That's the update from me. I hope you guys have a great discussion today and have a great rest of your evening. I hope to talk to you soon. I will be publishing the recording of the space with Frederick, so you can listen to that later. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, so that's the update from Dumpling. And I realize that we are moving fairly slowly through this because it's new. Hopefully in future meetings, we will get much faster at the board. So I'm cognizant of that. So hopefully we can get through this and get through the other agenda items fairly quickly as well. So we're not here too long. Next is Rhys. Do you want to talk to the SPO board?
Yeah, thanks guys. So the last 2 weeks I've been trying to help get kind of promote Catalyst and help encourage the discussion about the actual timeline. I've kind of finished with the involve SPOs in Catalyst projects because you know, we've kind of moving on to the next phase, or we have moved on to the next phase. So I guess that could probably be removed now. I spent 4 weeks dragging SPOs in to submit proposals and kind of get involved a bit more, so I feel like I did all right there. Yeah, so that's kind of it, really. That's been the main focus. I've got to a point where, thanks to Andre and I think it was JP, the other guy who reached out to help figure out the payment and use of those funds that I think Joey brought up earlier that we had available to us as Circle reps. So I'm at a point now where I'm just trying to coordinate all of the addresses and names for people to receive the payments for promoting Catalyst in their spaces and videos like we've kind of agreed. I have a formal agreement kind of spreadsheet, which I'm more than happy to share with you guys, or I'll put it on that card actually so you guys can actually see that and see the process that we're going through to achieve it. Yeah, so that's great. Nothing else is really stopping me from doing anything. I've had a lot of questions like Dumpling has about what's been going on. There's been a lot of confusion about what our role actually is and what we're supposed to be doing. Like, some people have this impression that we're like a governing body, which I don't think is accurate. I think we're more like glorified receptionists, really, just kind of taking calls from the community and feeding them through to the management and admin team at Catalyst. But, you know, we can get hold of that when we talk about the conduct and stuff later. Yeah, so that's kind of it, really. I'm happy to get involved with the nurturing listening culture. Also, what was the other one? The trust thing. So you can put me down to get involved in that. I know I'm not on the I'm not allowed into your GitHub yet for some reason. But the trust and the trust issue that had come up on someone else's under someone else's category, I'd spoken to someone actually earlier today about potentially figuring out a DID implementation or something like that. I think Catalyst is the perfect testing ground for that kind of thing. And if we can figure that out with some of the other, I'm one of the Atala pioneers this round. If I can figure it out with some of the other guys, you know, maybe we could implement something like that for Fund 9, because it shouldn't take too long. So I'm quite happy to lead that and try and get involved. Or at least kind of take it to the next step and try and figure out some kind of solution. The scams thing, someone in the chat on YouTube actually said, Jory, I believe, that it's an ongoing issue. I don't know if there's anything that we can really do as the Catalyst Circle to stop scam responses, messages and stuff like that, but we can help encourage education about this kind of stuff. And that's really the extent of our power, I feel. Although I might be wrong, you know, maybe there's some other ideas of how we could address it. The last thing that I saw you guys bring up, I didn't want to interrupt everyone when they were talking, but the onboarding and introduction thing, I kind of agree with this being an issue, right? I didn't understand a lot of the processes behind Catalyst until I was actually submitting proposals, and then it was kind of too late for me to make any adjustments. And I know we have the Catalyst School and we have different implementations and stuff available, but it's all kind of disparate on different Google Docs and Sheets and stuff. And if we could find a way, which I'm happy to get involved with, to kind of figure out a central hub for the Catalyst direction, then that would be great. I'm happy to do videos. I'm happy to do some kind of marketing or promotional videos as well for Catalyst to help onboard more people and bring people in for the various roles across the timeline. So you can stick me down for that as well once you get me connected, because I'll definitely get involved. But I mean, that's it. That's it for me, really. There's nothing too crazy going on my end, except for a little bit of people management and expectational management, I think, from what our position is. But I think everyone's kind of had that this week based on what's been going on, which I think is fair, you know. But yeah, that's it for me, guys.
All right, thanks, Rhys. Just for JP and the notes, if you could take a note to make sure we get Rhys onto GitHub, and then 2, we can tag him into those 2 or 3 proposals that he just mentioned.
All over it.
Yep. All right. Excellent. And then just for Rhys, since you said this, card number 21 is done for your next ongoing work. Once we do get you in, if you could create a new card to track the work that you're doing next, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Dimitri, your hand is up.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether I had said please to put my name onto the listening culture thing, but when Rhys said it, I thought I must just confirm, and if I haven't made it clear, please to put it onto that as well.
Okay, we're done. That's done. Okay, thank you. All right, I think we're done with the Kanban and the updates. Let's go back to the agenda. So we are way behind schedule, I think. But let's kick in with Harris talking about discussion on the circle and establishing a code of conduct and next steps along that journey.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so definitely a lot has transpired in the last week, and it's definitely calling into question a number of things of what we do as circle members and where we want to go. I do believe that, you know, we should be working, all of us, in behalf of the betterment of the community, and you know, making sure that we're setting some example of behavior and how things should go, and ensuring that we're creating a lively environment. And you know, we want open discourse, we want differing opinions, and we do want to encourage that and leave that door wide open, right, for us to consider the right dialogue in the right place, for sure. So I do think I want to be clear that, you know, IOG, while we started this as an experiment to try to start and bootstrap some level of governance, and I think there is a part that is needed to sort of get something up there, you know, throw the piece of clay out there, and then as a community and as a circle, we can beat that up and actually form something that makes sense. You know, and I think to generate the code of conduct, I think is definitely something that's going to be shared amongst this group. And I think it's something that we don't, should not necessarily come from IOG legal, should not necessarily come from another source. So we do need to sort of find a specific source, maybe legal resources or others, or we can actually brainstorm as a group, and something that I think that we should initiate. And I'm more than happy to come in, set up the meeting and structure, invite all of you into a separate breakout meeting where we can brainstorm what should circle members do, what should circle members not do, and really start to form that foundation of what our role is. There was some early definition of what each of our respective roles were, and that was, brought about in the nomination process. So there is the nomination criteria, and we can reshare that link. I'll add it into the agenda. But as a reminder, like that was the original intent of what our role is and should be. So we want to create this initiation of a code of conduct. So there has been these past documents that have existed, right? They were created by Governance Alive, and there is definitely some gray area, I think, as Stefan sort of called out in some of the previous discussion, where it's not clear enough, right? Is that the foundation? We didn't necessarily start with a charter. We didn't start with the formalization of bylaws and all the things you typically find in some organizations, even nonprofits. And so there's some things that I think we need to assemble. I do think we should start with a code of conduct to make sure that we know here's the guidelines of what's right and what's wrong, along with specific things. But again, the whole notion is we don't want to add a ton of bureaucracy, but we do need at least some guardrails in terms of where we want to go. Now, I do want to make sure that we separate a couple of different things. So I think there should be a code of conduct for the circle, right? There does need to be a code of conduct for Project Catalyst as a whole, right? Which is a little bit different. So what are the members in the community? What are their guardrails? Like what is acceptable and not acceptable, right? And that flows in. Ideally, we need to create a safe and lively environment as much as possible. And it can be difficult, especially in the view of social media. How do you stop someone from making a comment on Twitter? There's not a lot that can be done, but if there's tools that are under the purview of the community, then maybe there can be establishment of specific ways where we can flag individuals. There is also a specific set of terms and conditions for idea scale. And really, let's separate idea scale terms and conditions from Project Catalyst terms and conditions from, or a code of conduct, and the circle as circle members, our code of conduct. So I think we do need to sort of structure some of these things and make sure that we're addressing these things in light. So with respect to idea scale, there are some very clear violations of the terms and conditions on idea scale. And Dimitri, we what I would like to do is have a specific breakout with you. There are specific violations that, as moderators of idea scale for Project Catalyst, that we will need to take action and we will need to actually address those. So we wanted to inform you before we take these actions, and we can be very specific about what and why. And our stance is that we have to take action because it violates the terms and conditions of the tool that we're using. Okay, so there's the broader code of conduct for Project Catalyst. There's, again, that specific thing for the tool that we're using that we have to take action on. And so we want to be clear about that. There's specific proposals that we believe are in violation and will likely be removed. And there's user profiles that will likely be removed as a result, as moderators of that specific tool. So these are some of the things that we need to work on and address. Certainly can go into some detail. I would propose that we should start with a brainstorm of what circle members should and should not do. We could start that activity here, or we can move that into a separate breakout session, but I open the floor for questions and comments.
right. Any questions and comments? I would push towards a breakout outside of this meeting just for the sake of the time left. We have half an hour. But I do welcome some initial comments and directions for this. Rhys, your hand is up.
Yeah, I was just going to say I was happy to kind of figure out something now, but I understand with the time that might not be possible. So, you know, maybe if we have a chance at the end, we can try and figure that out. But otherwise, we can do it at a different time somewhere else.
I did add the element of subcircle and into the actual problem statement. So I made a comment specifically for that explicitly, as well as how should circle members handle proposals as well. So those are two sub items. I just added as a note so we don't lose track of those. And that's public. But if there's any other items that you think we need to address, we can actually start with some of that in the prioritized problem item in GitHub. Ideally, GitHub should be super easy. You know, it's like, here's the one form you need, here's the one box, put it in there, and then the admin team can sort of help align it. So ideally, it should not be difficult to put in and manage, and we simplify that. Yeah, please, Nadia.
I just want to ask a clarifying question, which is, as part of this code of conduct, which will give us a little bit of like maybe rails and helpful so that we can be accountable to each other. We just came through the VCA process, as I mentioned, having like a resolution process as a part of that. So if someone has an issue, there is a process by which it can be raised. And I think as a listening body, in order to really fairly take in those issues as they're raised within the community and be able to sort of absorb and respond to them and keep the transparency going, can this document and should this document also include some kind of a process for raising respectfully and constructively these issues from the community, so the community has also a clear path by which they can at least do this. I don't know if this is our function, but I think it's very important because the lack of that here, the lack of process and the lack of ability to really follow something created a whole lot of chaos for everyone. And I think, you know, we can all just agree that that needs to be improved, definitely. So that's a question. Will we include something like that? And does it belong there, or is that a different discussion?
I think as part of the code of conduct, that, you know, there has to be something clear that says, here's how this would get worked out for sure. And you know, maybe taking from the model that you folks developed from CA or expanding it or changing it. But I do think it's appropriate. We are a listening body. That is our primary function. We want to capture those, but there's things we should and should not do as circle members potentially. And then we just need to be clear in defining that, make sure we have acceptance from the community that that's fair, because we're here to provide a service to the community. So we're servant leaders, like, you know, tell us what it is we should be working on and focusing on and ideally solving those specific problems.
Dimitri, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify now. My kids had put their own, like, called Kids of Cardano. They had put I put the user profile in their name, of course, but they wanted to have a separate profile to put their proposals. Later on, we found out that there was this rule saying that you have to be above 18 to be a proposer. So on that basis, we accept that these proposals cannot be put by the kids. So my question is, if they cannot be put by the kids, would I be as an adult able to propose it at a later fund whereby the kids are co-proposers, or can they not be proposers at all and they can only be content creators? That's my question.
Yeah, we do have some open legal questions where we're actually trying to understand where that line is. But you know, for all intents and purposes, to use the tool, you either need to be 18 or 13 with parents' permission. That's the current legal.
Okay. Well,
the tool.
Yeah. So on that basis, my kid is 13. So can he use the tool or can he not use the tool with my permission?
According to the guidelines, and I'll have to seek our legal counsel to help delineate that, since we're providing this tool. We can come to some terms with that. In some of the descriptions, Dimitri, your kids are stating that they're 12. So that's where some of the issue is.
Okay, I get it. The reason they say they're 12 is because by the time the actual voting starts, he'll be 13. So he's 12, but I mean, when you say 12 going on 13, I've mentioned that he was born on April 29, 2009. Okay. I've mentioned that in the proposal because he talks about how he's was there for Bitcoin. So you can tell me whether that date falls within the parameters. Otherwise, we'll just move it forward to the next fund. It's not a problem. But my confusion is 13, like, okay, so let's say in fund 9, he will be 13. So can he propose on his own, or does he have to propose with me along as a co-proposer, or can he not propose at all, where I got to do the proposal, but he can of course be the one to create the content? This is what we were not sure of. So since you brought it up, I would very much like to get from you and your legal team, because they are very keen to do it, but of course they don't want to break any rules. So it's in your, I mean, you will let us know, we'll abide by whatever it is.
Sure. Yeah. But by the terms and conditions is sort of what's driving this. I think as a whole in Project Catalyst, we do need to come up with some, some guidelines in terms of who is eligible to propose. That is potentially outside of the scope of this specific discussion, but we can, raise it as a concern and then find the right body that would actually own that and have some decision power to decide where that should be and how we allow that. I certainly have had my own children build computers at age of 12 and do some really cool things, and I've even paid allowance in specific denominations related to crypto, but we need to establish what's right. And there is a very strong perception that this is a bad thing, and we need to address those concerns of the community.
Can I just say one thing before that? The perception that it's bad is only from a very small, as far as I'm concerned, community percentage. For the most part, people who've spoken to me have been pleasantly admiration, surprise, happiness, those sort of feelings have been expressed to me. So it would be good, before jumping to the conclusion that everybody thinks it's bad and violating the rights of the child and child exploitation, it will be good to actually get the feedback from the community, what they think about it, not just to take a certain small percentage who says it's bad.
All right. Thanks, everybody. So for next steps, Harris, you'll be arranging some breakouts and conversations with the community, or do you need support from the circle to do that?
So I would like to establish a follow-up meeting where we have a working session as a circle to help define what we think our roles are. And then I think it would be appropriate to bring a summary of what we think the roles are, make that public, give the community opportunity to comment on it, and then actually bring that into after town hall. Right. I do think Dimitri will have a more detailed discussion about the legalities of specific things. There will be some specific actions that we will take. And I'm happy to clarify with you, Dimitri, the specifics there of exactly the motions we'll have to make on the short term. But the broader discussion, we do want to at least create a formation and then share that with the community of what we think the code of conduct should be, and then get some good feedback from the community.
That sounds good. And one thing I would love to also include is the admin team on that conversation to clarify our roles, responsibilities, and parameters, because this has also raised a lot of confusion from the community as well, where they look to us for like guidance, help, support in things that are way outside of what we believe to be our role as well. We're not a governance body. We're not a legislative body. We are merely facilitators, secretaries, and administrative staff helping you all do your work. So that kind of clarity would be really helpful for our team as well.
Awesome. We'll certainly include you in that initial breakout discussion. And I'll try to set that up in the next few days.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Anything else on this topic? All right. Joey, you're up next, but I'm wondering if you have covered all this already with your board updates.
Yes, I'm done. I'm good. Joey show's over.
All right. So we have 19 minutes left. Mercy, do you want to jump into your topic? I think we're back on track now.
Okay. So yeah, yesterday myself and Nadia had a really good session. It was really well attended after town hall. And the reason that we had that was that, first of all, the proposal document, sort of the guidance document for proposers was a little out of date. So that was something that needed to be addressed. On top of that, Nadia had been doing all this work with, regarding CAs, and, both Nadia and quite a lot of the CAs are quite engaged. And what was coming up was that it would be good to have some kind of a streamline in the sense that a lot of the issues sort of the front end was on the proposer side. So it just, when it becomes so messy, it sort of comes and sits on the CA's lap in a way. So it would be good if we try to figure out a way to sort of deal with, excuse me, I need to clear my throat. So that it would be a good idea to sort of figure out how to make sure that the front end is working in terms of, submission of proposals, what is appropriate, even some kind of code of conduct, which I think actually ties in very perfectly with what Harris was saying in terms of a separate code of conduct for Circle members and also for Catalyst. Anyway, the reason that I'm bringing this to Circle is that I was being tagged in a lot of these discussions regarding some of the difficulties with the proposers. So I'm hoping the reason for bringing this up is, first of all, I know that I'm just for funded proposers, so not really for all of proposers. But, I was happy to, when Nadia invited me for me to actually be part of this. And a lot of my sub-circle members are beginning to feel quite engaged with this. So the clarity that I'm looking for is, one, am I entitled as a funded proposal rep to be sort of a half of this initiative, or am I overreaching? One. If I am overreaching, then do we have a responsibility as a collective circle to really figure out how to streamline the proposers side of stuff? Because, like it or not, a lot of new proposals are coming in, and a lot of them will bring a lot of value to the Cardano ecosystem, first to Catalyst and also to Cardano ecosystem. And there was a lot of great points yesterday in terms of how we can really harness all these resources that is coming into Catalyst and by extension to Cardano. And we need to figure out a way how to get this done. So basically, yeah, that's what I'm hoping that we can get some thinking and clarity on. Nadia, did I say it well? Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, perfectly. Yeah, I think it remains kind of outstanding when you have the conversation, like from where the CAs pick up and then all the way through funded proposers where she is, there's this gap in the beginning of how the proposers are, one, supported and represented, and two, the requirements for that role are updated. So I think there's a sense that maybe in looking at this process, we would, we had this after town hall, it was fantastic, lots of ideas, but is it good for us to sort of usher, and maybe, I don't want to rewrite what you're saying, so correct me if I'm misrepresenting it, but is it good for us to sort of steward the discussion about how proposers are affected and fit into this whole process, and to sort of represent those issues in the absence of there being an actual person who is representing proposers prior to being funded? Is that right?
Yes, that is very perfectly said. Yes. So, we welcome discussions and thoughts.
Your hand is up.
Yeah, I was just, there's definitely a lot that goes into the processing of funded proposers and ensuring timely payments and coordination and check-ins and presentations. And so it's certainly an animal on its own, and making sure that we get supported. There's definitely some support, I think, for proposers sort of leading in, and definitely the feedback loops that actually happened today with the CAs to help sort of refine those proposals. And perhaps there could be a better process to facilitate those proposers early on, so maybe they can get, they can win proposals earlier than waiting 3 fund cycles to finally get it right. So there may be some balance there, but there's certainly, I think, a pretty large scope of work already in the coordinator role, and making sure that the people that have received funding are well supported, and can help them succeed in accomplishing what they set out to do, right? Supporting that. I do think some of the roles that we've sort of brought in terms of the challenge teams and supporting folks to align together. So there's a couple layers of support. And at some point, we should consider, I don't know if that's another circle seat at some point that we consider, but it would just be a concern of, bringing in proposers. That's a lot. Also, I would agree they do need support and some representation at some level, but I would certainly your call in terms of how you would like to support that. But my initial feedback is that there's a lot in the coordinator side of things, for sure, to facilitate coordination and clarity on, hey, you're funded, now what? What do you do next? So just my thoughts.
Right.
I think that's a little bit of why we're thinking of tag teaming it. I totally understand that point. It's also a ton of work for both of us when things go awry. Well, what I've been saying is like upstream, things go awry upstream, then downstream there's meaning downstream in the process. So, for example, like just decisions on Fund 9. I think there's a lot of contribution in the community. I think that you and I, Mercy, as we're thinking about, are just sort of facilitating the conversation and letting things emerge so that people can write proposals if they want. They can think about solving things that are easily solvable. Documents can be updated, that kind of stuff, rather than becoming the point person. We're more thinking about it from a procedural standpoint and a system updates kind of a upgrade kind of a thing.
No,
Although I
that's
did
right.
tell everyone you were taking every open question for proposers in Fund 9, so I don't know if that was in line with what you were thinking about or not.
That was for Mercy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe we can incentivize, I'm putting that in quotes, the rest of the circle members to, is this a thing that we feel a collective responsibility for? In the sense that, we are CC members, so Catalyst Circle members, what's our core around, what's the core that we align around? And I think in a way it is, the Cardano Treasury, which is where sort of, the administration of proposals come from, part of it. So, as Nadia has said, we are happy to maybe carry on as is, and then maybe throw it out there, and then people can pick part of it and maybe develop some proposals around that. On the other hand, do we feel right now that this could potentially be a collective circle responsibility?
It sounds like it might be a good topic for the codes of conduct in that meeting where we establish kind of the boundaries of what the circle does and all of that.
I do think it's worthwhile. I was just gonna, echo kind of what you said, Nadia. It's like we're fixing the tools to make sure it's clear. I think can be a lot to be learned. Like if you are a funded proposer, like here's how that funded proposer achieves success. Maybe there's clarity that can be added, or the forms can be updated, and the process can be refined and improved. And we want that feedback, and ideally take those lessons. Like here's some success models, and here proposers, here's the best way to get there, or guidelines on how they were able to achieve success. But I think as community members, as Catalyst Circle members, we're all champions here to help each other.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do we have any clear next steps for this? Do we want to combine it with the codes of conduct conversations? Or is it something that Nadia and Mercy will just keep pushing along or thinking about?
Well,
I think we should. Nadia, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say that I think we should do both. In the sense, we should, push it towards the code of conduct, especially on the Catalyst side of things, of course, and also on the, on the circle side of things, because it creates a bit more clarity for us. And also, Nadia is a champion. I'm happy to tag along. Yeah,
I think it's a great use of cross collaboration. Definitely, our roles just butt up against each other, and so it's a nice way for us to work together. And I think it also, the community can see the whole process with more clarity when you have a discussion about where the roles intertwine each other in conversation. So that's very positive. And a lot came out of that meeting, and a lot of enthusiasm yesterday. So I think that will naturally move forward as people recognize things are needed, and so maybe we'll just continue as stewards here as we go.
I agree.
Good. Rhys, we'll take your final comment before we move on, because we need to finish up this meeting.
Sorry, just super quick, guys. I think I wanted to just get a permission from you guys while we were all together about streaming the discussion about our roles and how we figure out that code of conduct, because a lot of people have requested that as a form of transparency, and I don't really see that crossing any lines personally either. So I think that'd be good to just be completely transparent and open about. And yeah, also on the subject of your after town hall breakout room, I think there was lots of really good insight into how little people know about being a proposer, submitting the proposals, going through the whole process. And I think it really just highlights the need for better education about it, and building that central hub where we can kind of share all that information. Thanks, Rhys. And I agree, meetings should be transparent, and we tend to record all of our meetings as well, so that QA can transcribe and put the transcripts out. So we can continue to do that. But if you can add the live stream, I'm sure those will be popular as well. Okay, so I have a quick section on admin. I'm probably going to take it mostly offline, but I just wanted to introduce that we do have a new problem board. And I heard your message, Dumpling, that GitHub is not super easy to use. Stephen has been funded to teach people open source tools and how to use the tools, and he's been actually doing some sessions and he has been recording them. So I will make sure that we're able to reach out to you as well and get to you the help you need so that you're comfortable with entering your own issues and updating the board and figuring out how that works. Yeah. You're very welcome. So yeah, I'll definitely work with Stephen to make sure we loop everybody who needs that help in, and we'll do it in Slack as well and just announce what we're doing. Harris and then Joey.
Yeah, just real quick, I noticed that the catalystcircle.io website is down.
Okay, we can look at that. Thank you. There hasn't actually been any content put into it, and that's one of the issues we have is nobody's really has that on the top of their plate as something to do. So we're kind of figuring that out, and it's unclear whether it should be the admin team or Stephen who started it or whatever. It's one of those weird infrastructure bits that's kind of in between the cracks, because as the admin team, we certainly can't create the content. But we do have access to all the tooling to make it happen. So perhaps we can work with the circle moving forward as to what we want to have up there. Do we want to have blog space for the circle members? Do we want to put, what kind of content do we want to put in? And we can definitely enable that to happen.
It may be easy just to point to the QA DAO pages or some central thing, just do a redirect or something of that nature. If we don't have additional burden, but yeah.
Okay. Joy.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Stefan reached out to me and said he would do some training on this new board. And if everyone wants to reach out to him, we can do it at a different time or whatever, just as a group. So I'm willing to move things around if he, if you guys reach out to him and he figures out a time that everybody can be there.
Okay, we can take it as an action item for the admin team to help facilitate that meeting with Stephen and you all, and we'll probably do that in the Slack channel. Okay, and the last one was just on asynchronous work. I'm seeing more and more people posting in the Slack channels and having conversations outside of this meeting, which is awesome. So I want to encourage you to keep doing that. And I just wanted to mention this tool that other communities have been experimenting with called Loom that allows you to record a very quick video message and share your screen at the same time and draw on it if you want. And it's really, really helpful to see people's kind of face, emotional state, nonverbal communication and stuff. So if you want to play with that as well, it's very easy to create a Loom. You get a link, you drop it in chat, and then it's playable in line. So it's a really great way to have a kind of a conversation going that is beyond just text, where a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of emotional contact doesn't come through well. So I offer that as a tool. And Joy, is your hand up again, or was it up?
Yeah, just a quickly. I'd reached out to you, Nori, before about where to put different conversations in Slack. So maybe you just run by that again for everyone.
Yeah, so each channel is named with a particular topic. And if it's a general topic, you can just drop it in the general section. If you want a special channel for a specific purpose, I believe you have the rights to just create one, or if not, just ask the admin team and we can create a channel for you. But it's meant to just organize different conversations into different spaces. So if the channel names are not clear enough, please ask and then we can explain that. But I think that they're clear, but I've been around the Slack for a while, so I may be biased in that feeling. So maybe we can just take it offline. If you have any questions on any channels, Joey, then maybe we can just go over it and I can explain them.
Yeah, I'm good from your description.
No, okay. All right, Mercy.
Yeah, just a quick comment that our last meeting, we had said that maybe we should include the subcircle members on Slack. Where are we at with that, and what's the next steps with that?
We can definitely do that if everyone agrees, and we can invite them to the server. One thing to be aware of is Joey's trying to get us moving into a professional account so that we have additional features. And it's per seat, and it's like $6 or $7 a year per person. So as we add more and more people, it'll get more and more expensive. So that's also a conversation we should probably have in a Slack channel and just decide how far do we open it up, and do we as a group want to pay for the professional license. But yeah, that's a good reminder. So to help us out, maybe you could start a Slack conversation around that, and then we can come to some kind of an agreement. And then if we want to invite people, we can send those invites out as the admin team.
Or can you post the cost and everything out there so everybody can review it?
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. All right, we are just over, so let's do a really quick 10-second checkout on everybody. Just kind of where you're at, how you're feeling, and then we'll sign out.
Sorry, Nori, to interrupt you. Just before we do, someone asked if the admin meetings are transcribed by QA DAO as well, or if it was just us.
It's just the circle. We don't. QA DAO hasn't been funded to do the admin team meetings.
Okay. Is there anywhere that people can see that? Is there like a published video of the recording or anything?
There isn't yet, but we can definitely discuss that if there's interest in it. We haven't been, just because we talk about agenda setting and how to structure meeting flows, and
yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, we didn't think it would be interesting enough for the community, but we have recorded all the meetings.
I think some people are interested in knowing that, even if it is boring, just so people know that what's going on. You know, I think that just to add the transparency might be a good thing to consider. But yeah, thanks for the clarity.
Yeah. And we are also talking about opening the meeting up, so anybody who wishes to attend can, and sit in there and listen, even if they're not active participants. Because we want everything to be transparent. We're not making decisions behind closed doors there. We're just helping support the circle and everything you all do. Okay, so let me stop sharing my screen so we can see people's faces here, and then maybe start with Joy and then Dumpling, just to check out. And so while people are speaking, go ahead and click on the form and fill those out. Again, just as a reminder, we're using the form now to collect little statements from each seat to report back to IOG for our monthly reports. And we doing that every other week will give us 2 data points to give for each position. So we appreciate everybody filling the form out.
Okay, just quickly, again, I wanted to introduce Thomas Welder and Nebulous Sultan as the new subcircles, and I'm still looking for 2 others. And if anybody has a recommendation, please do so. And as far as showstoppers or whatever, I've been waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning thinking about the health of the community, the health of the circle. Everybody involved with the Dimitri, him and everybody involved in that issue. The fact that we don't have any guiding processes in place or any HR or legal retainers for the community where we could reach out if we really needed to. Along with the windstorm that blew my fence down, I got to put it back up. The snow squall that took the flowers off my new fruit tree. Other than that, I've got a clear road, an open road with the sun shining and the sky's blue. So
beautiful. Thanks, Joey. Mercy, and then Dumpling.
I think I came into this meeting with reasonably high expectations, and it's been good. I think I'll be better prepared next time for using the board. So yeah, I think it's been a great meeting. Thanks.
All right, Dumpling, and then Dimitri.
Guys, sorry for being late and missing your great discussions, but I'm happy I caught a part of this. Had a really good space with Frederick. Everything was super brief, to the point, and people really enjoyed having an opportunity talking to Foundation directly. So he said Foundation will be more involved in Catalyst. They're going to set the challenges, but they don't see themselves voting for proposals, at least in the foreseeable future. But for more content, you can check out my YouTube channel. I'm going to upload that. And I also look forward to updating you with more details in the next meeting. And also I'll be chatting with Rhys to figure out how to use GitHub. So thank you, everybody, and have a nice weekend.
Thanks, Dumpling. Dimitri, and then Harris.
So I'm wanting to, as soon as possible, know what's the status of the kids' proposal. So other than that, which is yet to be determined, the meeting itself was quite productive. So great.
All right, thank you. Harris, then
Definitely
Nadia.
felt like we had a good, productive discussion. I'm glad that we're actually working through the boards and using that to keep us all accountable, and we're tracking things that we hear. And let's make it easy. Get those things on the board, and that way we have something clear that we're looking at, and we're actually making real, tangible progress on behalf of the community. So I'm really hopeful about that, and just super excited to be working with all of you. And I thought it was a productive meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Harris. Nadia, and then Rhys.
Really good. I appreciate working with each of you. This was like a difficult week for everyone, and I think that it's always feels good to have a response that you feel good about. So I'm really happy to have that with each of you, and to have had the open dialogue and to be addressing difficult things as we are creating something and supporting its improvement all the time. So I think that's a big win in the face of a diverse potential. And yeah, I really, it was like a big win. I think that holding the after town hall with Mercy, and just you guys came and were part of it, and a lot of the community did too. I think it's a lot of like real good thinking about how we can keep making things better for the future. And I also think that Dumpling is a really big win for you today. That I think we should really celebrate that you put this together, and you had that offering for everyone to be able to come and ask these questions, and prepped us and presented it really well. And I'm excited to watch it. I think that's really fantastic. And I just want to appreciate each of you. Thank you for a good meeting.
Thanks, Nadia. Rhys, and then we'll circle back to Dimitri, who has his hand up.
Yeah, I'm doing great, guys. I've great meeting. Feeling really good about everything that's going on. I'm glad that we're like pushing things forward. I think this the kind of next steps, this code of conduct, kind of figuring all that out properly and having some kind of official documentation for it's going to be a really good step in the right direction for the community to understand what our role is here, and because I think there's been a lot of confusion about it. But yeah, perfect. I'm looking forward to the next one, and I have nothing else to moan about. Nothing to moan about, actually. Everything's good. Everything's really good.
Thanks, Rhys. Dimitri, you want to say something?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to thank the the 4 other circle reps for not getting involved in this whole drama. And also, only this morning I got a message which I saw Dumplings thing saying that people are asking why they are involved, and I straight away tweeted back and said, I am 100% sure that none of them are involved, and that I consider them all my friends, and we have very open and cordial discussions in Slack. So please don't harass them and ask them these questions because they are not involved. So I had told that on the Twitter, but I don't know whether you all saw that or not. I just want to say that for the record, I have told people to stop asking that from you all because you all were not involved. So I want to say that also we have very productive conversations, even where we might disagree with each other on Slack and Telegram. And I would like that to continue because I can be fairly sure that there will be future occasions also where we do disagree, but we can still agree to disagree and work towards the same goals, I feel. Because the community is very happy with the level of transparency that has been finally shown in at least in providing that document, so that people can get an idea of what sort of accusations were made and whatnot. But nonetheless, they are also happy that the circle reps are united and working together for whatever goals we have set for the next 6 months, well, not 6 months, but 5 months. So thank you again. That's all I wanted to say on that.
Thanks, Dimitri. JP, you're one of the silent background people, but do you have anything you want to share?
Well, I got lots of ideas, but I won't bring them up in the circle meeting. No, I love this inside baseball view that I get from sitting here and taking notes. So really appreciate all the hard work and, even in our trials and tribulations, watching you guys work together and thrive. And as round 3, it's only round 3. So we don't have that much experience. So as long as we're committed to working together. So thanks so much. Love being here. Love it all.
And Rhys, do you have any final words that you wanted to share?
Yeah, sorry to be a pain just before we close out. I've also been asked if we can just quickly make available in maybe some like a view only form or like a PDF format the agenda for the meetings. Sorry to kind of bring that up last minute, just someone had asked. So I was wondering if that was possible and if we could figure out a way to share that before the meetings in future.
Yeah, they often don't come together until the meeting itself.
No,
as we
I
were
know, I
reviewing
know.
it, but
Maybe
we can
afterwards, or
definitely-
maybe just as we
What
start.
do
or
you
something.
mean, Nori? What do you mean?
But yeah,
so they
definitely.
are all shared, I think, right? So the transcript, the agenda, the notes version, those are all public, Rhys. So it's not prior to the meeting, but essentially immediately after the meeting, or within 24 hours, all that stuff is ready to go. So there is access to that documentation.
Maybe we can start posting them or something, review only links to the agenda.
I think
before-
what's happened is because of the last week, everyone's kind of started to get a lot more interest in what's actually going on with us and wants to understand the process a bit better. So if it's possible for us just to find a way of sharing that with the community, I think that would just be good for everyone. Yeah,
good point. Okay. All right. Thanks everybody. I think we had a really good meeting. I really appreciate everybody being so professional and sticking to topic and trying to really work through things from a procedural and process perspective and getting to clarity rather than keeping the drama high. And I really appreciate that the circle did step back and really think about listening, think about how we can move forward. And I'm really grateful and happy to be working with you all. So thanks, and enjoy the rest of your week and weekend.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.
Recording stopped.
right. So that's a bit of an idea of what goes on in the Catalyst Circle meetings. I'm going to be sharing these, just live streaming them in the future as well for any of you guys. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for the questions as well. I tried to bring up as much of it as was relevant at a given time. I really agree with everyone's sentiment about making this whole process as transparent as possible. It's not that anything is decided behind closed doors, but we need to make sure that everyone understands that that's the case as well, and that we're not up to anything that could, cause any problems or any more drama than is necessary. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys for joining. I'm definitely going to be live streaming our meeting on code of conduct. I thought we were going to discuss that today, but obviously we didn't have a lot of time to kind of dedicate to it. But as soon as I know about that, I'll share it with you guys. I'll make sure some of the Catalyst guys know. I'll put it in the Catalyst Discord, etc., so that anyone who's interested in participating through the chat or anything, you can always contact me. If you have any problems or if you have any concerns or anything, I'm really transparent. Just reach out to me. Give me a message on Twitter or Telegram or even in Discord in Catalyst. Just tag me. It's Rhys and then in square brackets STOIC. So feel free to reach out for anything, honestly. Perfect. I'm going to head off now because I got a handstand class. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.